Hi all you YouTubers, shooting on the fly here. Today we're going to do a little fun with Glock parts. As you can see, I've got my Glock 34 Gen 4 here. So we'll start this off right. We'll look. There's nothing in the chamber. It's clear and empty. Nothing, no magazine in here, no ammunition anywhere around in here. We're going to point it in a safe direction, pull the trigger, and so we've got a safe firearm. And the first thing we're going to talk about is we're going to be doing some trigger work today. What I've got is a Ghost 3.5 pound trigger, and that's a closer look at it. As you can see, it's still got the price tag on it, $15 or $14.99. That's the connector bar or the trigger connector for the Glock. And so we're gonna be putting one of those in today, and then we've got a competition spring kit. And this all these two items came from the Glock store. So I've got these out, and you'll see there's 3 springs in here, and so we're gonna put those in, see how those work, and then last but not least, we've got the skeletonized Striker, which we're gonna take a look at that too. We put all 3 of these things in and see how they work. You know, a lot of people complain about the trigger pull on the Glocks. I think the Gen 4 standard 4.5 pound trigger pull. So we're gonna try to lighten up some of that, make it a little snappier on the trigger, and we're gonna see where that goes. If you want to follow along and you've got your Glock manual, you can look at the expanded parts. You can see how everything goes together in the Glock. But to start out, just like everything else, first of all, we got to field strip the weapon. So to do that, we've already racked the slide, pointed it in the safe direction, and depressed the firing pin, depressed the trigger. So now we can take the slide off. To do that, it's real simple. Just catch it here. And then you got these 2 little clips right there. Those come down, slide comes off. Now we got the gun in 2 pieces. So we'll set this aside. We'll work with the slide a little bit. First of all, we're going to take spring out and the barrel. And now we're down to the fun stuff. Unfortunately, we're doing this on kind of a dirty Glock today, but you know, dirty's better than not at all. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the back plate here, and to do that I'm going to take a little hex tool, and we're going to get in here. It's really kind of hard to see and kind of hard to show on camera, but we're going to get right in there. We're going to kind of pop that down. There's a little collar in there. We're going to pop that collar down, and the best way to do this is just stand it right up on its nose, and we're going to slide this base plate off. But we're going to kind of keep our finger over it because there's some springs in there and we don't want them to come flying out at us. So now we've got the back cover off, and we're going to do a little parts removal here. Here comes the firing pin, which that's what we're going to replace totally. Extractor, and then we're going to get in here and we're going to take this little guy out right here, safety plunger, and remove the extractor from there. So all you got to do is press in on that, and the extractor will come right out, and then this is going to come right out in your hand. And where the heck did the spring go? Yeah, it's still up in there. Not a good sign. Alright, so now we've got all our little parts here. Found them all. They're all identified. So first thing we're going to do here is we're going to remove the spring off the firing pin. And this can be a little tricky, a little bit of a tricky process. This spring is captured with 2 they're little half moon looking kind of things here. The spring cups is what they're called, and to remove those we'll just pull the spring back, and these spring cups I've got a lip on the end of them, and I'll show them a little better when we get get them off of here. But we're going to have to remove these spring cups in order to get the spring off. Now, the best way that I've seen to do that is, again, take your slide, turn it on its nose, set this in here sideways where it can't, normally it goes in nose down like that. But we're going to point the firing pin nose up with a little ear here pointed to one side or the other. That way when we put some tension on the spring, it's got nowhere to go. It's got to be able to recoil there. And so we're going to put a little tension on the spring, and then we're going to delicately remove these two little cups. And these two little cups, as you can see, are very small. And if you don't do it just right and keep a close eye on it, those little dudes go flying off, and now you're in a search mode unless you bought a couple of new cups spares. It's kind of a good idea to have these spare. So we're going to set those aside, and now we can remove our spring. It just comes completely off. We'll set that aside. Firing pin, we're going to take the collar, remove the firing pin, set it aside, and we've got the collar still. We're going to reuse that. So we're going to get in here to our custom skeletonized striker for the Glock, and this fits pretty much all of them. 9mm 40 cal, 357 Smith & Wesson 45 gap. It all comes out. This is made by ZEV Technologies. You can get them at glockworks.com, or you can get them at the Glock store. So here's a little close-up of that. So a little more, kind of do them side by side here. It's lightened. I believe it's titanium, and it's got the holes drilled in it here to lighten it up, and it's got a little more pronounced, I guess, tail back here, as it were. It's polished, and so it's give us a little snappier trigger. And so we're going to set the old one aside, and we're going to proceed to let the new guy go in. So again, we're going to set this in here. We've got it in here like so. You see that? We're going to turn our slide up on its nose again. Again, we're going to set it in there to the side, and we're ready to put the spring back on. But we're not going to use this guy. I think this is a 4-pound spring. It's either 4 or 6. Is what's normally comes with the Glock. But we've got a new set of competition springs for that as well. So we've got a new spring in here. We're going to grab this guy out of there. And we're going to get him set up to go on our new firing pin. This is a 2-pound spring, I believe. Kind of, you can see the difference. Old spring, new spring. So, old spring aside, new spring is ready to go. Put it on to our striker. Now, here comes the fun. We're going to try to get the spring held down while we put these little cups back on, one side at a time, so without launching it into the stratosphere and hence be lost forever. So, oh, come on, you can do it. Ha. So, there it is. Went on there just right. So, now we got our new pin installed. We can put the firing pin back into the Glock. So it's going to go nose down this time into its little channel, and it'll slide on up in there. And now the ear that we were using to brace things with, you can see it right here. It's headed on down. The firing pin comes out right down here. See the little hole, and so when you depress the trigger, that's what makes everything go bang. So once we've got that in there, we've got a couple more parts got to go back in. The extractor spring is now in, but you know what? It's not going to be really good to put that in without the extractor. So I think we better we got a couple more parts to go before we get to that. All right, so plunger, safety plunger, spring. We're going to replace this spring too. I actually ordered a new titanium safety plunger. It back ordered on me, so I actually canceled it. So we're going to go with the old safety plunger, which I'd already polished, did the 25-cent trigger job. And so now we're going to go to our new safety plunger spring. If I can get it to come out of here. And this dude's a little bitty one. Aha. 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 Okay. So, there's our safety plunger spring compared to the old spring. It's a little smaller, a little less tension. So we're going to set the old spring aside, put him over here with our firing pin, and we're going to take this guy and we're going to put him into our safety plunger. And to do that, you just stick him in there. You can kind of twist him in there, but with the smaller one, it just doesn't want to go. Just doesn't want to stay. With the stock spring, it will stay. So we're going to flip the slide upside down, just kind of eyeball where this has got to go, and so we can put the safety plunger back in there. All right, it's in there. Maybe not. Safety plunger, take 2. Ah, well, there's a reason why that won't go in there. And that's because, if you remember right, you got to have it in before you can put the firing pin in. So, we've got the safety plunger in there, and now we can reinstall the extractor, which only goes one way, since I put it in upside down in the first place. Okay, so we can let off the pressure there. The extractor's captured. Now we got the firing pin in. Now we can turn it back up on its snout, and we can put the extractor spring in and rod. Now we're ready to put our back plate back on. Now this is where it gets to be a little fun as well. So you're going to take like a screwdriver, something flat, whatever, nice. You can use your hand if you want. We're just going to kind of hold this guy down so we can get this started in here. Alright, so we got it started in there. Now once we've got it started in, all we've got is the extractor spring sticking out here, so we're going to help it out. Everything clips back in. It's all ready to go. So that's all we were going to do to the slide today. It's all ready. All our parts are in there. So we're ready to put it back together. So we'll take the barrel, put the barrel back on, spring back on, and our slide is good to go. Now, more fun with Glocks. We've got the lower end. We're going to take this entire trigger assembly out of here, and to do that we're going to remove 3 pins, here, here, and here. Best way to do that is I'll just take my handy painter's tape, flip it over. I've got a punch, I just got a little bit smaller punch. We're just going to knock that guy on out. Alright, we got them started. Take this top one out, set it aside, take the lower one out, and the rear one out. We set those all aside. 1, 2, 3, ready to go. And now, the magazine, or slide release, it's going to come out, fall right there. We're going to take our punch, just lift up, pull this out, we'll set it aside. Set our tape aside, and now the trigger is just ready to come all out in one piece. And there she is. So we'll set the receiver aside and we'll see what we're going to do here. First off, we've got a new connector bar, which is this guy right here. And to get that guy out, we're just going to kind of pull this and turn it, and eventually this thing is going to come out. Oh, there we go. And so we kind of get it unhooked here. Then all we need to do is take a screwdriver, get underneath the old connector bar, pry it up, and lift it right out of there. If I pry it up a little more, poof, there she is. So there's our old connector bar. Now this one has already been polished. I polished it here, up here. You can check out videos on 25-cent trigger job. It's already been polished, so I'd lightened it up a little bit. But we're going to go ahead and install the Ghost 3.5 pound trigger connector. And we're going to get it out of the box here. And we kind of look at them side by side. There you can see the Ghost Inc.com. You can kind of see the differences. I'll try to hold them up here. It's a little bit difference on this part right here. It's lessened a little bit, and I think it's a little less back in here. So should make it release a little more snappy on the trigger. So we're going to set this guy aside, the old one, and our parts, and we're going to proceed to put the new guy in. Really simple. All you got to do is find where the old one came out, which is this slot right here. Slide it right in there. Just push it in with your hand, and you're done. Now, we've got one final piece that we're going to go in here with. We're going to change out, I don't know whether you can, yeah, you can see it. We're going to change out this spring right here for this spring right here. So, how do we do that? Well, first of all, we got to get it off of, we're going to pay attention to how these go on here. These springs are, you think of them as an S. And I'm going to hold it up to the camera there. See the loop that's going from your screen left to screen right? There's an S down there. And then the bottom goes from screen right to screen left. It's very important that they go back on the same way they came off. So with this one, we're going to hook the spring underneath, the eye underneath on the back part. So first of all, we got to get the other guy off. So we're going to struggle, pop him right off of there. Now, that all comes off in your hand there, so you can see there's the spring, goes in like this, just underneath. So we're going to take the new spring and we're going to go ahead and install that the same way. Hopefully. Perfect. Okay, so the new spring is on there. Now we need to get it removed from this. This one, if you notice, this spring, it hooks downward on the trigger assembly. It's actually sitting in the gun this way. So we're going to come back and get it off. It goes down and it's coming in from the back. So we're going to get this guy, pop him off of here. I say we're going to pop him off of here. He's thinking about popping off of here. We're going to pop him off of there. And then we're going to take the new one that we've already installed on the other half, and we're going to put him right back on the trigger bar. So, like that. So we're all attached. Now all we got to do is put these two pieces back together. And to do that, we're going to turn them around. This guy is going to ride on the outside of the new trigger bar that we installed. We're just going to kind of rotate it, and then it's going to go into a groove right back there, and then it seats right there. That's all you got. Now, ready to go back in our receiver. So here we got the lower end. Here's the trigger. Here's the back end. So all we just need to do is turn her around. It's going to slide right in the back here like this. Slides right in the front there like that. Sets right on down. There's the trigger. These guys are set. Snaps into place. All we got to do now is come back, put this guy back in. And then we're going to go with our top pin. We're going to put the top pin in first. So knock that down in there where it seats. And there's kind of a reason why we want to go with the top pin first. Because once you get it in there, it makes it a whole lot easier to get the magazine or the slide release to go in. So the slide release is just going to kind of slide in here along that, and it almost seats itself once you've got it in there with the spring in there. And so now we're ready to put the second pin in, the lower pin. So we got that there. Tap it flush. Good to go. One last pin is our rear pin. It's going to go back in here. Tap it in. Probably going to have to use a little bit of a punch because it's recessed. So we're going to knock it flush. Alright. That's all it takes to putting these 4 bags of parts in. 3 bags of parts. 2 bags in a plastic container. Now we're ready to put the slide back on. So we're going to put the slide back on. Point it in the safe direction. You can see the trigger reset now. Click. Much smoother, significantly lighter. I don't have a trigger pull gauge, so it's kind of hard to judge, but I'd say we went from a good 4 pounds down to at 4.5 pounds, probably, maybe closer to 5, down to somewhere around 3, maybe a little under. But it's a much smoother, much sharper break on the trigger. So now I'm looking forward to going out and seeing how it actually performs at the range, or IDPA. All these parts, by the way, are IDPA legal. Still stay in SSP with the Glock 34 Gen 4. Nothing has changed on the exterior of the gun. These are all legal to go. But hope you liked the video. That's pretty much my my deal of the day. All these parts together. The most expensive one was the GLOCK Skeletonized Trigger, and that was about $75. That's the most expensive out of the group. $15 for the trigger connector, and then the competition spring set I think was $8. So we're going to set all these aside, save these parts because you never know when you might need them again. And then hopefully if you like the video, click like, let us know, leave us a comment. We're going to do some more videos soon. I've got a extended mag release coming for the Gen 4, Glock 34 Gen 4, so hopefully it'll be here in the next few days, so you can look forward to installation video on that. We got our parts clean up here, ready to go shoot. So leave us a comment, subscribe if you like it. Hopefully you will. We need all the subscribers we can get. And until next time, remember to support your Second Amendment rights. They're in danger every day now. So shooting on the fly here, and have a nice one. See you next time.